You know, I don't think that anyone who's listening to this right now would want her daughter, if you have daughters, to be selfless, right?
No.
You don't want your daughter to be running ragged. You want your daughter to have high self esteem, to not put others before her, to, yes, to be kind and caring, but also to take care of herself. And where your daughter learns that is through your modeling.
Hi, and welcome to Beyond Empty Nest. I'm your host, Jody Silverman, speaker, mentor, and Chief Dare Officer at Moms Who Dare. Every Thursday, I'll share stories of midlife transformation, happiness tips, and dare you to see the opportunities waiting for you so that you can make this next chapter even better than the last. If you're ready to dare, I'm ready to dare with you. Let's get into today's episode. You've spent years putting everyone else first. Now it's your turn. In this episode of Beyond Empty Nest, we're diving into the powerful shift from mom mode to me mode. Time to reclaim your energy, prioritize your well-being, and create a lifestyle that truly feels good. We'll explore how to follow your own wisdom when it comes to eating, moving, and living in alignment with what works for you. Expect simple, sustainable habits that boost energy, improve sleep, and enhance emotional well being because midlife is your time to thrive. Welcome to Beyond Empty Nest, everybody. My guest today is Elizabeth Sherman. She is a master certified life and health coach with over 18 years of experience empowering women in midlife to prioritize their health and live with vitality. Specializing in holistic wellness, she blends her personal journey and extensive certifications, including life coaching, feminist coaching, women's hormonal health, and personal training to help women build sustainable habits for lasting change. Recognized as a top voice in women's health, Elizabeth speaks regularly on podcast stages and webinars, inspiring midlife women to thrive physically, emotionally, and mentally. And quite frankly, Elizabeth, who doesn't want that, right?
Right.
Welcome to Beyond Empty Nest.
Thanks for having me. I'm really excited about our conversation. I feel like I have made a new best friend.
Oh, absolutely. Right back at you. I say this all the time when we record. I get to meet all my guests before we hit record, and it's always great conversations. So, and then I get to share it with our audience. So this is exciting. And before we dive into, our topic of, how to make the shift from mom mode to me mode,
Yeah.
and to feel better overall, let's share a little of your story on how.
Yeah. I started out in corporate America. I was a VP of sales, and in 2001, my mom actually passed away from breast cancer.
Mm.
And that's important because, well, because my mom passed away from breast cancer, but also it completely shifted the trajectory of my life. I remember immediately after sitting at my computer Googling, how do I not get breast cancer? Because I saw her struggle with the disease. And it was so impactful on my life that I was like, I do not want to see that happen to me. Because as I was sitting with her in the hospital, I remember having this conversation with one of her doctors. I had just started exercising myself. Before that, I hadn't done any exercise whatsoever. So I was in my 30s. And he was talking about bone health and exercise. And I was asking him, how do I not get this disease? Because I could connect the dots. I could see that if I didn't change my life and my habits and my health, that what I was witnessing in my mom was going to be my future. And so that was really impactful for me. And so it was a big red flag for me to do something to my own health. And then after I started getting into it, I realized how important it would be for me to be able to support other women in learning this information that lifestyle has so much. Because at the time, I had no idea that our lifestyle habits had an impact on our, you know, breast cancer as well as diabetes and all of these other lifestyle
Mhm.
diseases. And so it
Yeah.
was a huge wake up call for me. And today, it is my goal that if I can help at least one person, not just woman, but person, um, change the trajectory of their life so that they don't have to go through what my mom went through, then I will have served my purpose in this world.
Yeah, and that's like a mic drop moment because I think that's so many of the women that I interview and that I share space with on this podcast. Um, we all have a story as to what led us to where we are, and there's nothing more powerful than when it affects you so personally and deeply as your mother, a spouse. And we all get that feeling inside. It's not about changing the lives of millions and millions of people all at once. It's just if
Yeah.
one woman hears something from this show, this episode with you, then it's like done. Like it feels good because that one person will then share something with another person. It becomes a ripple effect. So it really is about one person at a time. And it's like that, I would think, with what we're going to share today with how to put ourselves first in creating habits. It's not about changing our whole life all at once. It's one habit, one shift, one change at a time. And
Yeah.
yeah, so I love how you share that. I really do. Because it's hard to go from the mom mode to me mode. And I would just want to go back a little bit to your story because I think we're of the same generation, our parents, same age. You know, our parents didn't exercise like we exercised. There's
Mm-mm.
only, no, they didn't do weight bearing. They didn't know about the benefits of bone health with osteoporosis and weight bearing exercise like we know. None of that. It wasn't a thing.
No,
So
well, and add to that, like I grew up in a time when, I mean, so one, I'm the youngest of six kids. So my mom had eight mouths to feed. She did not work when I was growing up. She worked when I started working when I went away to high school and college. Um, and so my dad was the one who was earning the income.
yeah.
And so she was in charge of feeding eight mouths, and so what we ate was very carb rich foods. We ate Campbell's soup, chicken a la king,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
We ate all of those like casseroles, and I we ate chili with rice or noodles as a base because that stuff just fills you up. It makes you
Ah,
not hungry anymore.
yeah.
Yeah.
No, love that. All right. So if we're going to go from mom mode to me mode,
Yeah.
and I have to say, this isn't just when the kids just leave home. I mean, our
Hmm.
kids are always our kids. This focusing on yourself can happen years down the road. But how do we learn? Where do we start to learn how to shift the focus and break that habit of always putting others first to putting our health and wellness as a priority? Like
Yeah.
where would
So,
you tell a
first of
woman to
all, I'm
start?
sure you've had this conversation on your podcast before of that women are continually socialized to put others first, that we are bad as mothers if we don't. I
Yep.
personally don't have children. And so society kind of looks at me and, granted, I'm 55 years old, 56, sorry. And so when I made the decision not to have children, I was kind of an anomaly. And people looked at me like, what's wrong with you that
Right.
you don't want to have children, right? And so
Which, by
women
the
are
way, nothing.
right,
Right. Okay.
exactly.
So go
I
ahead.
just didn't have, there weren't a lot of other people around to,
Yeah.
be that mentor. But so women are consistently taught, especially when you have kids, that you should put your kids first, right? But you know, I don't think that anyone who's listening to this right now would want her daughter, if you have daughters, to be selfless, right?
No.
You don't want your daughter to be running ragged. You want your daughter to have high self esteem, to not put others before her, to, yes, to be kind and caring, but also to take care of herself. And where your daughter learns that is through your modeling. So
Yes.
it's never too early to start modeling taking care of yourself and having an identity outside of being a mom. Because I think that that's ultimately what we're talking about is when we talk about going from mom mode to me mode, it's who am I if I'm not a mother? Or I
Yes.
should say, independent of being a mother.
Yeah. No, it's that's the number one question. Who am I if not a full-time mom? Who am I if I'm not? And am I a bad mom if I don't answer the phone every single time it rings from my adult children? And am I a bad mom if I say no, I can't babysit my grandkids today?
Yeah.
There's so many things that happen as our kids become adults. And and it's not bad. And you're right. I love what you said, Elizabeth, because everything we do is a life lesson for our children. They're watching. They're watching us. And our sons are watching us so that when they become in a loving, caring relationship,
Mm-hmm.
that they don't expect that
Mm-hmm.
from, their wives,
Yeah.
their partners in life to just, well, that's your job and you're supposed to give up and you're supposed to do that. So yeah, I love, I know, right? You laugh.
So, personal story, sorry to interrupt, but so I was married before my husband now. And we were both very young when we got married. And I think what happened is we were both raised that if we were lucky, that like if I was lucky, that my partner would take care of me. And I think he was raised with the same thing that if you are lucky that you will marry a woman who will take care of you. And so both of us showed up in this marriage like, okay, do it. Neither of us did it.
I love that. I love that. Yeah. I love it. And you said something when I first met you, was like, who decided that?
Yes,
Who decided? Because I said something to you. I said something to you about
we
our
were talking about aging and body image.
right. And I said something about what I'm supposed to feel or what I'm supposed to look like, and you said, who decided that? I'm like, oh, that's a great question. Like, who decided it? Who decided? And you also shared, and this goes with putting yourself first. That also goes with women are taught at a very young age to seek outside of ourselves for the answers to things.
Yes. Hmm.
And I do believe that, when we talked about this topic, going from mom mode to me mode,
Yeah.
it does start with you. It has to start with you. It has to start with, there's no answers out there. You have all the answers within you. And I like that because that's an intuitive approach to, how do you want to feel? And we talked about that and when I introduced this episode about, following your own wisdom. You talk about that, following your own wisdom for the right habits for you, not the
Right.
right habits. So talk a little bit into what you mean when you talk to women about following their own wisdom.
Sure. Well, so first of all, let's talk about in terms of health,
Okay.
where this all started from, where this all came from of looking for other people to answer the question, what should I do in terms of health? Like we hear this anecdote, and I don't know if it's true or not, that if you allow children to eat, that they will only eat to like satisfaction, that they won't overeat.
Right.
It may or may not be true. I'm not sure. But we are taught, going back to how we're socialized as women and men, women are socialized to believe that our most inherent quality is being attractive, right? And if we are attractive, going back to my first marriage, that if I am attracted, I will attract a successful man. And a successful man is a man who earns money, right? And men are socialized to be successful and earn money. And if they are successful in that, then they will attract a beautiful woman, right? And when what our society sees as being attractive is thinness. And
Yes.
so we all grew up reading Glamour magazine, Cosmopolitan, Health magazine. I remember reading all of those and scouring through like some celebrity who was only eating 1,200 calories a
I
day.
know.
Gosh, I would love to read one of those articles again and just see, because it seemed like they were eating like two green beans and maybe an egg all
It
day.
was awful. And I remember, I know exactly what articles you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so we are taught through diet culture that other people have the answer for us, that our body is unacceptable as it is, and that we need someone else to tell us what to do. We need someone else to tell us how to eat and how to move and what we should be doing. And the the typical diet advice, exercise health advice that we were given is the whole calories in versus calories out
Yes.
approach.
Yes.
Now, for younger women, calories in versus calories out, when we're talking about weight maintenance, is true. And I'm not going to say that it's not, because it is. However, all of that information that we have about health was based on the physiology of college aged men. And women, as we get older, we then have hormonal impact on our bodies that men just do not have. And so as we get older, our bodies do not respond to the whole calories in versus calories out approach like it did when we were in our teens, in our 20s,
Hmm.
30s, even, and then 40s, it gets more
Oh,
difficult.
yeah.
And then finally in your 50s, you're like,
What is going on here? Like,
exactly.
yeah, like what is happening? I, and I have to just address, I
Yeah,
interviewed somebody who talked about that studies on medications and studies on diet studies are all packed with male subjects in the studies. Their studies are not geared for the women.
true.
That most women are not part of studies. There's not as many studies that are all women focused. But what you just said is, I just have to interject because I went to my a big high school reunion recently. I'm 58 years old, and I remember I was standing there with a friend from high school, and I mean, the women looked amazing. The women really did look amazing. And this was somebody who was always so beautiful and so pretty and just so kind and so nice. And we were talking, and she was looking at another friend of ours. And she goes, gosh, she's always been so thin. And I looked at her, I'm like, I'm sorry, what about you? And she looked at me, she goes, I'm always hungry, Jody. I'm thin because I'm always hungry. And it hit me like such a brick, like we're not we're not eating. Like people we're hungry all the time. We shouldn't live our lives hungry all the time. And that's where when you say when you enter the 40s, and the calories in, calories out doesn't work. And yet that's what we're doing
Yeah.
because we were taught simple math, but it doesn't take into account how our bodies change and the quality of the calories in and the qualities of the calories out and the way food affects us and doesn't affect us. And it made me so sad. I'm like, she's right. I looked around, I'm like, and the women look great and they look happy, but they're all probably so hungry all the time.
Well, and it
It's
goes
just
back
horrible.
to that question of who decided that. Like,
Right.
we have taken on this socialization that as a 56-year-old woman, that I should still have the body of a 30-year-old.
Yeah, no,
Like,
not a
why?
thing. Right.
It doesn't make any sense.
Now, and I like what you said, I'm going back, and then we'll move forward into where you were going with this. But I also I love your who decided that. You know how I feel about that. Like who decided what attractive is? It's not that way in all different cultures across all different. I mean, there are some cultures where it's like it's great. A curvy, voluptuous woman with a behind on her and hips and is attractive to men. So yeah, I love that. Who decided that? So
There's actually a really interesting, it wasn't a study, but it's a statistic that I think it was Fiji did not have television or American television until like the 1980s. And within like 2 or 3 years of them having American television, so before that, they were all about fatness. And
yes,
that was what showed like power and attractiveness.
yeah,
And within 2 or 3 years of them having American television, this is when Baywatch was on, um,
yeah,
they started noticing teenage girls having eating disorders.
mm, yeah.
And so it is a problem,
It
and
is.
media is a problem. What
Yeah,
we see and what we are shown
yeah.
as normal impacts how we view ourselves for sure. Yeah.
So
But
okay, so we get
anyway,
back to the wisdom.
yeah. So one thing that I start to notice, and I can't remember if we talked about this or not, that I find that for many women in midlife, that midlife then shines a spotlight on those areas of our lives that we have unhealthy relationships with. Have you noticed that too?
Well,
Like
the unhealthy relationship, like with our bodies,
with our body,
with
with
our
food, with
food. Yeah.
exercise,
Yep.
with other women or with other men or with spirituality or with our careers or whatever it is, our parents. Like all of a sudden, with everything that's happening to women at this period in time, like if you have an unhealthy relationship with one part of your life, it gets like a spotlight
Amplified.
on it.
Amplified. Yeah, no, I can't disagree with that at all. No, it's true. Well, because look, we can get into off topic here. We can go down
Yeah.
that rabbit hole of how, I could say the same thing for coaching. The media and they that there's an aspect of keeping you stuck where you are
Yeah.
to get you to keep buying and buying. But that's a conversation for another day. But I did want to get back to when you said that the calories in, calories out, that's it's not that doesn't pertain when we start to enter that, perimenopause, menopause, and postmenopause. I'm post, and there's stuff I didn't even know what was going to happen to me in postmenopause. That
Right.
oh my God, what is going on here? Shine the spotlight. Um,
Well, the
so
reason I brought that up is
yeah,
because if we're using the same tactics that we used
right,
before as younger women, like I'm going to eat a bunch of cookies
right,
and then I'm going to run it off
right.
because of the calories in versus calories out approach, that doesn't work anymore at this period in our lives. If we're using exercise as a way to manage our weight and uh, our physique, and we're not really having a good relationship with food, meaning that I'm not eating enough vegetables, I'm not eating enough protein, I'm not eating enough, period. And so, therefore, I'm having this restrict, binge, regret cycle, which I went through for a period of my life where I would be quote unquote good during the week. And then on the weekends, I would just go hog wild and end up like elbow deep in, guacamole and ice cream.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And then I would banish it all during the week. And like those tactics don't work for us anymore.
Right.
It puts more stress on our bodies,
It
and
does.
over exercising puts more stress on our bodies. And one thing that happens to women as we move out of our reproductive years is we become more sensitive to insulin and we become more reactive to stress. And so that's important because we cannot overconsume starchy foods, sugar, flour,
Right.
like all of the foods that are really good, right? We have to have a better relationship with those foods and eat them more in moderation. Not saying that you can't have them. I'm
Right.
just saying that you need to be a little bit more moderate with them and then work it off because that's adding more stress to your body. And I remember when I heard this phrase, I can't remember where I heard it from, but someone said, exercise can no longer be calories out. And I was like, what do you mean it can no longer represent calories out? Then what is exercise for? And so, as women in midlife, we need to look at exercise as a way to manage our stress. We need to look at exercise as a way to create longevity and
Bone
have
health.
independence as we get older. Like, I
Yes.
want to be living on my own when I'm well into my 70s and 80s. And
Yeah.
so, exercise needs to be part of that equation.
It
Yeah.
can't just be about the calories out. And I'm gonna be a testimony to that.
Yeah.
During the pandemic, my exercise routine never changed. I work out twice a week with a trainer. I play tennis. That didn't change. And I was still able to gain 25 pounds. And I tried to explain that to my daughter and to her friends, and like my exercise didn't change. I actually walked more during the pandemic to get
Hmm.
outside, and I was still able to very easily gain
Hmm.
25 pounds. So okay, so we know that I like your perspective on this. I like that we have to we get to, let's even forget have to. We
Yeah.
get to now view food and exercise differently. It's not a game to be played, although if you do change, I know for me, I've changed the way I've eaten, I've taken all that weight off. I am able to indulge a little bit,
Yeah.
but I don't just make it about the weekends, so I don't have a weekend binge. If I go out during the week one night and I'm like, you know what, I really want the burger, and I will not eat a burger without the bun. To me, I'd rather not eat a burger. I'm like, I really want it. So I make it, but I'm intentional about it.
Yeah.
And without really paying much attention, like all my energy where it's stressing me out, I can moderate that. If I know I'm going out, I know I'm going to really want to eat whatever I want on the menu, then I take into account what my week looks and feels like. But I
Yeah.
like how you said we have to change our perspective that it's not just calories in and out. It's not the same old thing. It matters how and what you eat. And I like what you said about the restrict, binge, and regret. It's not a game anymore. Like we play games as teenagers, and that's what
Yeah.
causes eating disorders. And so where do you start? I mean, let's give our audience a tangible place on how to begin creating that shift in how they view the diet, because nobody wants to be told you have to eliminate an entire food group. That can't be
Oh, no, no, no,
right.
absolutely not.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that is completely counterintuitive. Like, and I shouldn't say counterintuitive, but it's against like long-term weight maintenance.
Right.
There is a statistic that says that 97% of people after they get to their goal weight will regain the weight. So there's only a 3% success rate for people who lose weight to lose it and maintain it forever. And I realize that I'm talking about weight loss here. It doesn't have to be just about weight loss. I prefer to use a health first approach versus a weight loss approach.
Okay.
And so
Explain.
the difference there is instead of, I mean, yes, it's fine to create a goal of I want to lose weight. Totally fine.
Yep.
But what happens is when we have this goal to lose 30 pounds or 15 pounds or even 10, doesn't really matter, that when we get on the scale and we're doing the things, the habits that will lead to this goal success, when we get on the scale and the scale says something that we don't want it to say, so either it's the same number as last week or it could be up.
Yep.
Women's hormones do that.
Yeah.
We gain water weight.
Yep.
I just had a client text me the other day freaking out because in a matter of one day, she gained 2 pounds,
Yeah.
right?
I could tell you what does that to me. So yeah. I've
Yes.
learned. I've learned.
Yeah. Like maybe that's just how your body is.
Yeah.
And so part of the way that I work with my clients is that I help them to understand how your body works. What are the foods that your body likes to eat? What are the foods that your body doesn't like to eat?
Yep.
What are the exercises that your body likes to do? How does your body feel when you do these other things? And so, like, instead of
That's
feeling
the
like you
wisdom. That's the wisdom. You're
exactly,
teaching your clients, you coach and teach your clients how to tap into feeling, how they're
yes,
feeling, and how does that feel? And how, when I eat that, how do I feel after I eat that?
exactly, exactly. And right now, we've only been talking about eating and
Oh,
exercise. There are actually two other pieces to the health puzzle. One is sleep and recovery,
yes.
and the other one is stress management. Now, we focus on eating and exercising because there's easy things that we can take away. It's easy to say, eat this, don't eat that. For exercise, do this, don't do that, right? But when it comes to sleep and stress management, those are a little bit more fuzzy, right?
Yeah.
Everyone needs a little bit more sleep or less sleep when you're in midlife. Like,
Yeah.
I was up from 2 o'clock in the morning until 3:30 last night.
Oh,
And so, like, but it's something that happens.
right.
And it doesn't happen all the time for me, but right now I'm just going through some stress. And so I understand it, I go with it. And so, like, how do I manage those other parts of the health puzzle, right?
Yeah. All right, I want to kind of bring this together for the audiences because I think and I think there's a part that's all tied together because
Yeah.
what we feed our bodies can affect our sleep. I mean, I can tell you when I drink wine,
Yes,
it disrupts my sleep, but when I don't,
absolutely.
not only when I don't have a glass of wine, even one glass of wine, I not only stay up later
Mhm.
and I wake up earlier and I'm more refreshed. It's good stuff. I
Yeah.
mean, I've noticed it paying attention. So, what is something tangible
Yeah.
that somebody listening right now can start to do to develop either the wisdom and or the habits to move towards improving their energy, their overall well-being, their sleep, their weight, whatever. I know that's a lot in one, and I know it's not,
Yeah,
but
I know.
what you can
So,
you can offer them three things if you want.
no, no, no. So, I actually have a tool, or not a tool, but a guide. It's called the 8 Basic Habits That Healthy People Do.
Okay.
And what I have noticed is that there are 8 habits. Um, I think we're getting down to time, so I don't want to go off on them.
Yeah, well, we'll
But
put a link to that guide. You gave me that link. The
yeah,
link
yeah,
is
yeah.
in the show notes below. Absolutely. Go ahead. Tell them what they're going to get.
So it's a guide with 8 habits that if you do these 8 basic habits, they're simple, they're not easy, but they
Oh,
are simple.
I know
If
that.
you do these 8 things, you will never have to go on a diet ever again. Okay. That
I'm
is my
grabbing that.
promise to you.
Okay.
And so there's a checklist in that guide. And so here's my suggestion is go through for
So
one week.
make this their dare. This is your dare.
Oh, okay. This
This
is
is
their
their
dare.
dare. Download
Okay.
the resource. Go ahead.
Download the resource and there's a checklist for one week. Check off how many glasses of water are you drinking? How many servings of vegetable are you eating? Protein, sleeping, movement, like all of the things for one week. Just notice, what am I doing? Now, this awareness alone is going to lean you into better health just by paying attention. Then, if you feel like you got that, the next thing you do is pick one of those habits and do a little bit better. So, if you notice that you're only drinking 2 glasses of water per day, add a third. If you notice that you're only eating 2 servings of vegetables, maybe add a half. If you notice that you're only getting, 6 hours of sleep, maybe try to set your bedtime a half an hour earlier.
Oh, I love this.
So, like, you don't have to, like, one of my taglines is, you can half ass your health.
I
And
know.
this is what I mean. Like, you don't have to go all in and be perfect. You can, but it's not going to last because
Yeah.
it's too uncomfortable. And when life gets busy, it's it's the first thing to fall off.
Yep.
So,
This.
that's my advice is download the guide, look at what it is that you're doing. What's the easiest? I love the low hanging fruit idea.
Yes. Start with the easiest one for you.
Exactly.
If vegetables are easier for you than drinking the water, go with the vegetables. I like,
Exactly.
yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I love it. I'm getting the resource. Download the resource is the first thing. That's your dare. But the dare that you're going to implement, and I love that you said this, is to notice. Spend a week noticing without judgment. Spend a week noticing on the checklist of those 8 habits. Notice what you're doing. Keep track because it's true. The first step in creating any lasting change, any shifts, and the life you want is awareness, is being aware of the things you say, the things you do, the things you're putting in your mouth, the things you don't put in your mouth, like all of that. So I love
Yeah.
that. This is a
Yeah.
perfect dare for our audience.
Well, and just one thing, like clients come to me all the time and they're like, Elizabeth, I love vegetables. And when I have them do this tracking, they're like, oh, I didn't realize that I was eating so few vegetables.
Mhm.
So if you're listening and you're like, but I love vegetables, I love drinking water. Okay, great. But are you doing it?
Yeah, love that. All right, everybody, the resource and all the ways that you can find Elizabeth and her website, her social media, everything is in the show notes below. If you want to work with Elizabeth, this is her jam. This is what she does. I love the way you talk about it. I love your approach to this, Elizabeth. That's what got me when I saw your website. I'm like, I just loved everything about how you approach health and wellness with women of a certain age in midlife. So accept the dare and let us know by sending me a message, leaving me a review on which one of those 8 basic habits did you decide you were going to tackle and embrace and make changes in first. Let us know. I'll let Elizabeth know if you send me a message. I want to hear. And don't forget, everybody, that there will be another new episode of Beyond Empty Nest next week. And as I always say, dare on. If you've enjoyed this episode of Beyond Empty Nest, head over to jodysilverman.com for full show notes and resources. But wait, before you leave, I have a question. Are you happy in midlife? Take the Midlife Happiness Quiz today and discover your personal happiness score. Not only will you uncover where you stand on the Midlife Happiness Scale, you'll also get 2 free tools to help raise it even during difficult and challenging times, leaving you feeling confident and happy from the inside out. It's time to shift your mindset from victim to victor and start boosting your happiness today. Ready to unlock your next chapter of joy? Click the link in our show notes to get started now, because happiness is an inside job and you deserve to feel happy. Dare on.